All right, let's get right into it. Today's explainer is a complete system architecture audit. We're taking a highly technical system hardening log and transforming it into your definitive Scorpion build deployment manual. We are going to identify every specific registry key, service change, and configuration tweak you need to completely lock down your operating system. If you want a truly private, local-only compute environment for your next setup, well, this is your ultimate blueprint. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll kick things off with the Scorpion build protocol, move into the core telemetry and task purge, sever those cloud network beacons, eradicate hard-coded system bloatware, and finally, lock it all down by preserving the golden image. So, part 1, the Scorpion build protocol. Before we just start blindly ripping out services, we really need to nail down the philosophy here. It is all about shifting your system's baseline trust. The ultimate goal is to move from a state of assumed telemetry to a state of verified silence. You know, in modern operating systems, things are almost never fully stripped out by default. They are just kind of suppressed. Verified silence means we take the keys away from the OS. We enforce a strict, air-gapped local environment where your background bandwidth and compute power belong entirely to you. Okay, part 2, core telemetry and task purge. We are not just toggling little settings in a menu here. We are going after the deepest tracking engines in the OS. We start by targeting the big 3 telemetry services to completely blind the diagnostic servers. First, Diatrack. That is basically the telemetry heart of Windows. Then, the DMW APD service, which routes all that tracking data. And finally, the WPIN user service, a session-specific background beacon that absolutely loves to stay network aware. Stopping and disabling these 3? Absolutely mandatory for a zero-trust environment. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Using start value 4, sometimes you will try to disable a service and you'll get a parameter is incorrect or an access is denied error. When the system fights back like that, editing the raw registry and setting the start value to 4 is your ultimate administrative kill switch. It literally tells the startup manager that the service simply does not exist when the computer boots up. Because you see, standard admin privileges aren't actually the highest level of authority. The operating system uses internal accounts like system or trusted installer to protect certain tasks from being shut down, tasks like the Microsoft Compatibility Appraiser. The OS actively fights back to keep its diagnostic pipelines wide open, even against the person who literally bought the hardware. Crazy, right? And that brings us to the native PowerShell Trojan horse trick we use to sneak past those locked doors. No third-party tools needed. First, we create a temporary scheduled task. Next, we tell that task to run as the highest level system account. We execute our kill command right against the protected telemetry task, and then we instantly delete our temporary task to cover our tracks. It is a completely clean surgical strike. It really comes down to this idea. When the front door is locked from the inside, we take the hinges off. Instead of politely asking the service control manager to change a protected service, we just bypass it entirely and rewrite the raw registry hive. We stop asking the OS for permission and start telling the kernel exactly what to do. That is true administrative power. Moving on to part 3, severing cloud network beacons. Consider this your master cheat sheet. These are the exact registry keys you need to block internet probing, file hashing, Copilot AI hooks, and background peer-to-peer updates. See, even with the main telemetry engines dead, the OS still has these subtle, hard-coded beacons trying to phone home. NCSI active probing, for instance, it constantly pings servers just to see if you have internet. We kill that. We also force delivery optimization to mode 0. That makes absolutely sure your bandwidth isn't quietly seeding update files to other computers on the internet. We also roll out some PowerShell preference overrides to neutralize Defender Cloud uploads. By setting the sample submission consent to 2, which means never send, we ensure your local files are air-gapped from cloud diagnostics. On top of that, we terminate the geolocation service to blind the OS geographically, and we kill device metadata retrieval so your physical hardware inventory isn't being broadcasted to the cloud. A quick pro tip on registry hardening. Sometimes the policy folders you need to modify don't actually exist on a clean system yet. So if a registry path isn't there, you have to forcefully create it first before you can set your block. It's kind of like building an empty container or a physical fence post. You literally need to put the post in the ground before you can nail your keep out sign to it. All right, part 4, eradicating hard-coded system bloatware. With the core networking suppressed, we eradicate the user-facing bloatware, things like Bing News, the Feedback Hub, PhoneLink. They act as localized Trojan horses for telemetry, running background processes and location updates. We use specific PowerShell arrays to permanently purge these built-in Apex packages. By ripping them out for all users and wiping them from the offline image, we guarantee they won't just magically reinstall the next time you create a new local account. And when you're running these removal loops, keep this fundamental command line rule in mind. In PowerShell, no news is absolutely good news. If the system doesn't throw a giant wall of red error text to you, it means the package was found, eradicated, and successfully stripped from the image. Now, what about unbreakable system apps, like the app installer or Winget? Standard uninstall commands will fail because they hit a hard-coded guardrail. For those, we use the muzzle strategy. We take ownership of the folder and use icals to strip away all read and execute permissions. We essentially brick the process. If it can't execute, it can't call home to report your software installations. Simple as that. We apply that same aggressive clean sweep to OneDrive. In a zero-trust environment, a service continuously monitoring your local files to sync them to the cloud is a massive vulnerability. We kill the active process, run the hidden system uninstaller, and then manually sweep the registry and local data folders to rip its synchronization hooks entirely out of the file explorer.
Finally, Part 5, Preserving the Golden Image.
You have done all this hard work, so the last thing you want is Windows pulling the rug out from under you with a forced automatic update and a sudden reboot. To stop that, you must manually disable the Update Orchestrator and the Windows Update Service. By locking those down and setting the No Auto Update registry key, you are back in the driver's seat. You decide when the machine updates, meaning you can audit changes and make sure your telemetry blocks stay intact. You might be tempted to bake all these configs into a custom Windows ISO using DISM. Honestly, don't. A bare metal disk image is far superior for a personal setup. Taking a complete image using a tool like Macrium Reflect captures a perfect byte-for-byte photograph of your drive, with all those complex registry locks perfectly preserved. It's the ultimate safety net, giving you a 15-minute reset to perfect button, completely skipping the massive headaches of ISO engineering. So there you have it. You now have the exact blueprint, the complete Scorpion build deployment manual to transform a noisy, cloud-connected consumer OS into a static, invisible local compute environment. The system is finally 100% under your command. So the only question left is, now that you have a silent, hyper-responsive machine, what are you going to build on it?